Yep.
Okay. So, hello everyone. I'm Varun. I have been with Databricks for nearly 3.5 years, and I'm part of the security cloud infrastructure team. And I've been using Custodian for nearly 3 years now. So feel free to ask any questions. I'll try my best to answer them. If you have a question after the presentation, feel free to contact me. And did it. So I'm sure everyone knows Custodian, so I don't want to go on what Custodian is and where it is used. But at Databricks, the tool started mostly with the SecOps, like tag enforcement and other security standards. But we moved it to do more of FinOps recently, like because the tool was already rolled out and teams started appreciating what it can do. So we have some accounts which have started doing the FinOps works using Custodian. And I'll go through some of the policies that we have.
Sorry to interrupt, but your slides aren't full screen there. I don't know if you're aware of that or that was on purpose. There we go.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, no
Yeah.
worries.
So this is how Custodian runs in AWS, Azure, and GCP. And this is, I'm sure there may be other ways, but this is what at Databricks we do. We have, these are the permutation combinations that we have. And I don't think I need to go into the detail. I'm sure everyone knows if you have used the tool. And the common attributes. So as Databricks is a SaaS provider, we have our product running in all three cloud providers, right? So when we try to roll out a product or a tool or any of the services, we try to ensure it runs across all the cloud providers. And just to give an idea about the environment, this is roughly the, I would not say exactly 400, probably 500. Like, I don't know the exact number, so it's beyond this presentation, but we have around 400 accounts, subscription, and project spread across GCP, AWS, and Azure. And they are really big. It's like, if I don't remember the exact numbers, but we are really, really huge AWS accounts and GCP and Azure. And so when a new AWS account or any of the accounts that is built, as part of onboarding, Custodian is rolled out. It's like there is like an end user requests a new account. We build an account as part of the CI/CD. Custodian is already rolled out into it. So it's like we will not hand over the account to the end user until there's a custodian into it. So there is a set of policies which are rolled out as part of the initial build. So when we started, like 2019, this is how the setup was. We had a separate repository for AWS, separate for Azure, and separate for GCP. And it worked great, right? Initially, there were policies here, here, and here. Everyone was happy. But with more projects coming in, with more, it's like version 2 of the platform. When we started building it, we consolidated them into one. It's a management repository with three different directories: AWS, Azure, and GCP. So what is shared between the three cloud providers? We have AWS, Azure, and GCP. If all the deployments are through Terraform, there is no going away with it, right? Because we have hundreds of accounts. We deploy a lot of projects, subscriptions. Everything has to go through the Terraform. There's a lot of automation goes into it. And for compliance reasons or for the ease of use, whatever you can say, we use GitHub plus code build to roll out policies and or the account creation and part of that custodian. We try to have the same policy between AWS, Azure, and GCP if possible. This is something we are actively working on, and we are not there yet. There is work to be done. Mailer templates are pulled from the same location. As I showed in the previous slide, we used to have separate repository. With the new setup, they are all consolidated. It's more cleaner now. Same goes with the naming standards. We are trying to ensure all the policies are named. So it's easier for the end user to know where it's coming from. I'm sure there are variations like by looking at the policy naming, they can know it's coming from which account or which subscriptions, wherever. This is the most complex part in our deployment, right? We have CI/CD running in AWS, but it goes and deploys between Azure, AWS, and GCP. And the one thing to keep in mind is we have hundreds of accounts, like as I said, 400 accounts, for example, and we have to roll out something. We have spent a lot of time and effort in running Terraform in parallel. It's like we use the max, like the largest possible size available from Amazon code build. I think it's 72 vCPUs. So we deploy it and we do multi-threading of our pack. So we can run 72 Terraform workspaces in parallel. So we, for example, if Amazon, we have 100 accounts, 15 regions, they can run all in parallel. It's like we have spent a lot of multi-threading, a lot of Python internals. Like there's a lot of work involved in making sure Terraform runs across in parallel between these environments, subscriptions, or wherever we want to deploy it. It's like depending on the memory and the CPU size, right? For some environments there may be small CPU or resources, but some of them are really, really big. So CI/CD runs in AWS. It can deploy in Azure and GCP, wherever the user wants to run. And as part of any rollout, right, the low-hanging fruits, we did the lab demo. These are the accounts where something is deleted. It's fine. We know it may not be of as importance. Then we move to non-prod, and then to the prod account, and everything follows through GitOps model is approval. There's a change control. It's very streamlined process. And the challenges, right, with any rollout, right, retention policies. You talk to 10 different teams. Some will say I want 3 weeks, some 6 weeks, some 9 weeks. So it's like you have to convince the end user, like we need to come up to some standards, right? Like what is considered as unused resources. Some people like to leave resources unused for months, some like to week, and then there's motivation, right? We need to motivate teams to use the tool. And finding the owners, right? I have a policy, it's running fine, but I'm not able to find the owner of the policy, owner of the resource. And the changes are, it's not easy to roll out a policy. Like there are different people, different use case, different thought processes. So this is some of the policies from the FinOps, right? This is a policy which goes into effect daily, right? So if you look at it, it will stop every instance at 7 p.m. and start at 8 a.m. It's just not rolled out in all the accounts. I'll show you downstream, but it is a live policy, no exception. It goes into each and every region of some of the accounts. So it saves a lot of money, right? Every evening, people there is an exception, like if someone does not want to do it, like allow downtime, we have a policy like that, tagged. If you have a tag, allow downtime on and off, we will ensure your machine is not stopped. Same goes with RDS cleanup. If they're unused, we will delete them. This is a screenshot from one of the tools that we use. It's called Jupyter, one of the number of instances that goes stopped daily. So if you see, it's 384 instances went down. Every day they go down and they come up. So it's just from one account. So you can see the amount of savings we have. And this is the RDS snapshot cleanup. So this was a big accomplishment for our team, right? Like before Custodian, we used to have like 200 terabytes of snapshot just sitting over the years. And now we just have 108 GB. Same goes with EBS snapshots. We discussed, we worked with various teams. You see, I have grayed out this area. It's just, this is some accounts we don't want to share. So, but it's from multiple accounts, so many snapshots, we've reduced them to this much. This is the public access. This is a custom Lambda they have written for, if you make a bucket public, we will try to, and if you have not asked for an exception. So currently, if an end user wants to make a bucket public, they have to raise a JIRA. It has to go through our team, a legal. So there's a process they need to follow. And sometimes if they do not ask for an exception, they just make it public, it will trigger a Lambda and will block it. this is the bucket policy that we have. If you're not tagging your buckets, if bucket has tag, it's fine. If it's not tag, can infer tag, fine. If it's not there, in 1 hour, delete the bucket. It's as simple as that. There is no exception in all the accounts. This is the policy that's rolled out. Securing public S3 bucket. We have a lot of public buckets because we share the packages with the end users. And at times, users put in the credentials or AKIA keys. So we built a solution on YAR and Cloud Custodian, and we had a blog. I'm sure there are more options available, but this is the blog we wrote, how to use Bucket Brigade to secure public AWS S3 bucket. Same goes in Azure. It's the same thing. We have CI/CD running in code build. We pull the service principal, and then we push it into each and every tenant. Service principal are created at the management group level. So as part of automation, a new subscription comes in. They already have the credentials set. Everything is ready. The subscriptions runs in. The policies are already there. Same, it's auto tagging policies. Same owners. If they are missing things, we'll tag them. We'll do our best effort. Same in GCP. We have service account created at the org level. So we have, I think, 250 projects, and service accounts are at the org level. And as soon as a new project comes in, they get the downstream policies. Same event-based policies. That's how we have. So like everything, right? It's like we are at version 2 of Custodian, right? We have used it for 3 years now. We are trying to make it version 2. Add more policies, right? Like we realize few things we are missing. We have figured out. We have an epic. We have planned. We have to write those policies. Some of the policies are cost control and security control. We need to add, clean up, merge them. There's some work to be done there. Policy parity. This is something we need to spend a lot of time, because we have, like, for example, 100 policy in AWS, 75 in Azure, and 50 in GCP. So we are trying to ensure we have same number of policies spread across cloud providers. Training users is something, there is some traction going on. Like we have seen users asking for policy. How can they do this? How can they do this? Crowdsourcing. Lately, some of the teams have started building their own policies, right? They send a pull request to our repository, and they say, like, for example, recently we had a policy for code build or logs or EBS, XYZ. There can be so many options. Next is we want to make our policies public. We have a lot of policies spread across cloud providers, and we should, maybe downstream, we want to make them public. What else? Yep. Thank you. Any questions?
All right. Awesome. That was also a motivational speech, especially around the buckets, giving them an hour. That's let me see if we have